let's look at Chelsea. Speaking of paying the bills, Chelsea with a massive bill this year when it comes to wages that they've spent. No way in the world it would fit under a salary cap that they've had. It looks like Pochettino is going to be the new manager at Chelsea. Multiple outlets reporting that it's all but a done deal at this point. What are your thoughts for Poch at Chelsea and the fit there?
I think Pochettino could probably go into any club and do a good job. So I think for him, I think it's a good fit for him that way. Where I don't think it's a good fit for him is, or where it might not be a good fit for him is, are they going to give him time? Pochettino's he's a manager who can get it right over time and likes to build players and have the buzzword is a project and build. However, Chelsea, they're a win now club or out the door, and as we saw with Potter, and they sold him a story, a tall story, and said that he'd have time and he could have a project, and we saw how that worked out. So I don't know if they're selling the same story to Pochettino or not. He can do it. He seems to be popular wherever he goes. He went into PSG and sorted out a bit of a mess with some egos there. So I think he can go into Chelsea and do the same thing. He might not do it overnight, though, and it just depends on how long he gets.
My concern with Pochettino there is that team's lazy. You have a lot of really lazy players on Chelsea's squad right now. And the reason that Pochettino got pushed out at Spurs was players kept complaining about how hard training sessions are and things like that. But I think it can work because you'll have a legitimate system. He can win. I think you need a manager there who's going to push some of those lazy players that don't seem to want to give a lot of effort. I think Lampard's a guy that you went from Graham Potter, who's kind of going to be your friend, to Lampard, who's a guy who's going to kick you in the hind parts. But he's also he's not particularly great when it comes to tactics and things like that. I don't think Lampard is. And relationships. Pochettino is going to have good relationships, but he's going to push you hard. It'll also be interesting to see what kind of sell-off happens at Chelsea this year, right? So reading a piece about maybe they bring in Harry Kane, sell off Kai Havertz. So which players stay, which players go, because they're going to have to do something with as much money as they spent over the last 12 months. They're going to have to do something to kind of get close to some semblance of financial fair play. And they put a ton of money into that team, and that roster probably is a little bit bloated right now. But I think you have a lot of good young players that can press high, they can attack, they can play Pochettino's system. So I think the fit would be great. The problem is I think Pochettino can come in and be incredible. I think Pochettino can motivate the players. And none of that might matter because of how amazing Manchester City is right now. So, is this ownership going to be okay with Pochettino coming in, riding the ship, and finishing top four? Because right now, United, Eric Ten Hag's a fantastic manager, and United has spent, they have a massive payroll themselves, and they'll have expectations. Arsenal has the best young team in European soccer, period. End of discussion. They do. And so Liverpool has expectations that they're going to challenge for championships. So I just wonder what's going to be an acceptable level of success for Pochettino at Chelsea, because I think he could be incredible and still finish third on the table. And is that going to be good enough for this ownership? I will tell you, it's a lot better than we've seen from them at any point in time this season. So I think it should be at least in year one under Pochettino, and then we'll see where we go. But there's going to have to be some sort of a sell-off or something like that, because you're how many managers in at this point, and there's zero effort whatsoever from a lot of these guys. Guys who have shown effort on other clubs are not given the same effort when they're at Chelsea right now.
No, they're not. That's absolutely true, and that's why I'm a little bit puzzled about why Pochettino doesn't come in now, or what the holdup is, what the delay is. Is it Pochettino's side? Is it who's undecided here? Because if it's a done deal, you'd think Pochettino would come in for the remainder of the season. He's on a no lose. There's no damage can be done. He can sort out. He can have a look at them, see who he wants to keep, who he doesn't want to keep. They can get rid of them summer, and then buy a centre forward, and then go from there. But there seems to be a reluctance to. It's dragging on now, and is it going to happen? Isn't it going to happen? They're still a mess. It's only going to get worse. The feelings are going to get worse the longer this drags on. The players apparently are turning on the club and regretting signing long contracts, etc., because the writing's on the wall for them. They're not playing, and they're not playing a lot of time that they were promised. So it's just getting worse. I think they can be a good cup team next year. Chelsea, they could possibly win. They've certainly got the talent. I mean, they're not going to get burnout. They've got two squads of players, two 11-a-side teams of top quality. So I know they'll be getting rid of some of them. So they're still going to have a deep squad. So that's a good cup squad. Whether they're going to pull it all together, like you say, there's going to be so many quality to Arsenal getting it right, Man City getting it right in the league, Newcastle, Liverpool. It's amazing this season how a number of clubs are in a similar position, like Liverpool, Spurs, Chelsea, a lot of big clubs, but who are in that transition. But so, yeah, I don't know. I think they've got to give him a season at least, for heaven's sake, haven't they? And you'd think, and they could be a good cup team next year. They can't do worse in the league than this year, surely. But I'm surprised that he's not jumping in now and having a month just to look at them, a few games to at least look at the players and see who are committed and who aren't.
Yeah, no, I agree with you there, because if I was Pochettino, I would like to be able to run those players through training and things like that and say, okay, who's bought in, who hasn't. And here's the other concern that I would have. You may have the one thing at any job, this works the same way, any line of business whatsoever. If bad employees are tolerated, good employees become bad employees. That's just something that just happens in every workplace, no matter what the business you might be in. So having Pochettino there and say, okay, who turns it around once we get there and we start doing things the right way and we start, I would also just want the time to start implementing the system. And so there is an understanding during this offseason of what you're going to have to do. And if you want to leave, let's have a conversation and maybe you can go somewhere else. Who wants to be there? Who doesn't? That's going to be a big question that whoever whether it's Pochettino or somebody else, the next Chelsea manager is going to have to live with and deal with. And again, I love the system. I love the talent that they have. I do still have one big question about Chelsea, no matter who the manager is. And I think it might be even bigger if it's Pochettino. Who's going to play center forward next year? That because they, as much money as they've spent, they still don't have a striker. And is it going to be Harry Kane? If Pochettino's there, I would presume almost that Harry Kane's going to be the center forward there for Chelsea. But if it's anybody else, or who is it going to be, where you're going to spend the money, you got to figure out a way to get goals. And they have a lot of guys that can make a good run for you and have big names that can make a nice pass. They don't have a lot of guys that, to borrow a hockey parlance, can put the biscuit in the basket. And that's the question that I have for Chelsea next year is, that's great. Your midfield's loaded. You have 7 midfielders to choose from and 4 wings to choose from. And you know what I mean? 8 that could play at the back at most of the clubs in England, but you don't have anyone that can score. So what is the answer to that one? And Pochettino can't work magic. Pressing high and being on the attack at all time and staying on the front foot's going to be good, but you still need someone that can put the ball in the net.
That wouldn't go down very well in London, would it? Not with a white part of London. If Kane goes to Chelsea, wow, that would be something. Hey, you're right though, Will. If Kane got on so well with Pochettino, and from the things he says, still obviously respects the man. So you wouldn't bet against it happening. To be honest with you, they do. They need an out and out centre forward, and they got Lukaku out on loan. He's still a Chelsea player, I believe. And they've tried pretty much everybody in the squad up front. I mean, Frank Lampard played Kante up front. I can't believe it the other day. Yeah, so who knows? They definitely need a centre forward from somewhere. Who that's going to be, who knows?